On this episode of Carnage, we're going to mini tub the lockdown wagon. So if you've been keeping up to date with our lockdown wagon, you know we're getting it ready for a new old stock rear quarter. And it's sitting right over there, ready to go on. Well, sort of ready. We have a little rust repair section to do in the lower inner quarter down here, but the patch panel still hasn't arrived. We're still waiting on that. When that shows up, we can put that in, but I also want to put the doors on the driver's side of the car so we can line up the body lines across the doors, across the quarter, make sure the doors shut properly, all that sort of jazz. Unfortunately, the doors are still in lockdown at the Carnage workshop, so we've got no doors here. Hopefully we can get to them in about a week or so. If we can do that, then we can get our quarter panel on, hopefully. In the meantime though, I have a tub kit here from McDonald Bros Racing, and we're going to show you how to install it in this valiant wagon. So we've got a lot to do and not a lot of time to do it. So let's not faff about, let's get into it. What we got here is the McDonald Bros Racing mini tub kit. It's the round shouldered kit, so 65mm round shouldered. They do 150mm round shouldered for some people that want a much larger radius on the curve, and it's 800mm rather than, you know, they do a couple other versions like 830 and 880. So we've got the 800mm tub kit with a 65mm round shouldered. About $300, so it's pretty good value. And then we have these top panels as well, which have to be bent into shape, and we'll show you how to do that a little bit later. Now, before we go cutting that piece, what I've done is I've grabbed a piece of cardboard from an old TV box and cut these two pieces so we can use them as templates for our side panels, so we don't have to screw that up. All right, screw it up there, don't screw it up there. So measure twice, cut once. Anyway, the first part of our instruction list says to cut out the existing tubs. So we'll start there. So all the way to the chassis rail, and we'll just cut out the inside part of the tub. Let's do it. So to kick things off, we've jacked it up, put it up on stands, taken off the back wheels to give us more room to work underneath. But hopefully we won't have to be under there too much, and I can just do most of it from the top. So I'm going to cut along here first. I'm going to use the air chisel to make this cut and then cut it around there and around there. Now, we need to go out to the chassis rail, but at that point it is double thickness, so the air chisel probably not going to cut it at that point, but we can at least get the major part of the tub out and then finesse it later with the grinder. As we've seen with the rear quarter, the air chisel works pretty quick, so let's get cracking. Seriously, how easy was that? Hare and Forbes air chisel for the win. So we've got that out, but I haven't gone all the way to the chassis rail just yet. Now the chassis rail is quite thick, and I don't think that the air chisel will quite make it through that. So we're going to go up to the lip of the chassis rail, work our way along there. So we'll take the next section out. Now the temptation is to take the other wheel tub out as well, but I want to make all my mistakes over this side. This is the first time I'm doing wheel tubs, by the way. So I'll make all my mistakes on this side, so I make sure that I learn from them and get that one absolutely perfect. But let's face it, they're both going to be perfect. Confidence. There's a bit more. Now that we've cut the tub out completely, we've gone all the way to the chassis rail, cleaned up the edges with a stripper disc so we can get a good solid weld on there. Now it has just opened up the edge of the chassis rail because usually it would come up and across and, you know, it was spot welded to the panel. Now we've obviously cut that away, so what we're going to do is close up the gap here between the chassis rail wall and the floor pan. Now it has separated a little bit, so what I'm going to do is get a couple of these clamps, clamp it down, close up the gap, whack some beads on there, and yeah, it should look a lot better. All right, see how we go. So now that I've got the chassis rail smoothed off, cleaned up, I've cut one of my cardboard discs in half and positioned it like so. I've got a bar running across there, across the top of the existing wheel tubs to show how high we need to come. So basically, the cardboard shows me we will have enough material if I cut my big disc in half, which is basically what we're going to have to do. It's kind of touch and go. I may have to do a bit of filling here and there to make it work, but it's pretty much going to happen. So we need to cut that other disc in half and position it in place, have a look. But yeah, the cardboard is telling me at the moment this is going to work. Alrighty then, well, we have cut our side panel in two, we've clamped it to the chassis rail, we've clamped it to the bar up here. It's all looking pretty good. We've got this spacing pretty even all the way around. Now, I have matched the front edge, the front corner, to our floor pan, which leaves us a little bit of a gap here on the back side. it's not a major problem. Our top panel, which will come all the way down, will have plenty of room to and plenty of length to go all the way down. So it's just going to leave this little triangle here that we'll have to fill. But that also sits under this station wagon boot floor here, so no one's ever going to see it, especially once we Sikaflex it and paint it and all that sort of stuff. So it's not going to be a major problem. But yeah, I've got it clamped there. I've drawn a line on the back of this panel underneath to follow the contour of the chassis rail. So we will declamp that, cut that panel to match, and then we will cut our chop panels to match this distance here, which is 19 centimeters, including our little lip that sits in behind this. So let's get to that part. Hopefully this is all going to work fine. Hopefully. So we are getting there. We've got our side panel notched to conform to the shape of the chassis rail, so that's done. So we'll clamp that back against the rail right now, get it in position. Now, according to our instructions here from McDonald Bros, the next part is the top panels, all right? Those big flat long sheets, all right? So we have to form them up into top panels. Now they're saying use cardboard to get your exact size and shape, transfer that over to our flat panels, then cut them to size, and then form them up into these side panels, tack weld them into the car. Bob's your uncle. So, all right, let's do that. We'll get that clamped into place, make up our cardboard patterns, and make it happen, basically. So based off the measurements I've made so far, I know 19 centimeters is going to work for us. It's probably just a smidge too much, but that's all right. We can trim the cardboard nice and easily to size. So I will trace these out. Now I'm going to have to cut a couple lengths, join them together so we've got enough material to make up our curves. Cut that one first and then measure up a new length, cut that as well. Oh, for fuck's sake, to stay in position. So we have ourselves a cardboard template. I've still got to trim the outer edge a bit, but now we can remove that, transfer that across to the metal, and then form that up into our side panel, which we have to remove from the car now as well. So after this, things get kind of permanent. So let's make sure we get this right. So originally I did a blue line down our top panel, 19 centimeters wide, and you can see it is quite a bit different from our little cardboard template. So I'm going to draw a line with our marker. Whoops. Add 10 here, add 10 there, and I'll add 10 to this bottom edge, which we can then trim off later. So now that should be our correct size. As you can see, there's a little bit of a curve in there. I think that's got to do with just the way, the shape of the side panel on the car. It is what it is, but as long as it comes out looking all right, that's all I care about. So now it's time to cut our top panel. This is something that can't be undone. We need to do this right the first time. A big cut like this, we're not going to do it with an angle grinder. It's not going to work. So I have some air shears here, Ryobi Airwave air shears. So we'll get some gear on, make some cuts. Here's the first cut. So it's only 1mm steel, so it cuts through it pretty well. The air shears, they just cut like a section out of there. So we just follow the line with one side of the blade. Easy as that. So now that we've trimmed our top panel, it's time to form it into shape, like a semicircle to go into the side panel. Now, we've got to put them together outside the car, like tack weld them together outside the car, so then they can be installed as a unit into the car. That is the way McDonald Bros recommend to do it. And they've been doing it for a long time, so I'm going to use their advice. Now that will be the front edge, that is the back edge. Now they recommend forming it over a tyre. Now we don't have an 800mm diameter tyre, that it would be really large, it'd be like truck tyre size. But we do have this Ford Territory rim which is 700mm in diameter, so it'll be close enough. So we're going to be carefully form it over there, like bend it around without kinking it. They reckon don't be aggressive and kink it, so I'm going to follow their advice. We'll see how we go. Okay, so it actually curves quite easy. So maybe, alright, maybe I need to bend it. Alright, so just put a bit of bend in it. It's starting to get a bit of shape into it, but you know, just got to be careful not to kink it, as they say. Alright, so what I'm going to have to do, I think, is sort of clamp that together at that end and then clamp the other end. So we're starting to get a bit of a curve into it. Flirting with danger here. Yep, that is starting to put more of a curve in it. So we'll get some clamps together. We'll clamp one end and then we'll push it all up and around and clamp the other end, and hopefully that gives us the desired shape. See how we go. Saying that a lot, aren't I? Alright, that end is clamped. I'm going to get this end up to the lip. Well, I think the moment of truth has arrived. I think I've got it in position, it's clamped in place, but we need to whack a couple tack welds on it, fix it in position permanently, and see how she looks. So time to fire up the old welder and yeah, see how badly we can screw this up. All right, successfully tack welded. And there we have it, one wheel tub. I suppose we should sit in the car, see how it looks. Goes in there, goes in there, into there. Bit of push in here and prod in there. Now that we've got our wheel tub assembled, we put it in the car, clamped it in place, and it is time to tack it into position with this old girl. So, here we go. Behold, my wheel tub. That's right. That is my first ever wheel tub, and it's come out all right. It's not 100% perfect. There's a few gaps around the back edge that I'm going to have to fill in with some scrap material, but it doesn't look too bad. And it's tacked into place at the moment. There are no clamps holding there. It is just tacked into the car, and I'm going to have to just weld it in there more permanently right now. But that has come out okay. Pretty good for my first one. The next one will be even better. Anyway, let's get this zapped into the car, or at least a little bit more zapped in. there we have it. The wheel tub is pretty much done. Fabbed up a couple little fill-in pieces down here to just fill in the gap at the bottom of the tub there where we had a little space. It is a little bit Frankenstein, and yes, I do have to finish welding that up, but we will get to that later. Other than that, it has all come up pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Obviously, we've got to do some flappy disc action and just smooth some stuff out, but you know, for my first wheel tub, I'm pretty stoked. So we're going to move over to the other side, cut that out, and I'll just finish welding this up at a later date. And there we have it. The other side wheel tub is tacked into place. It's not going anywhere. It's pretty much job done. Unfortunately though, we're out of mid gas. So I have to get another bottle of mid gas before I can finish things off. And that'll happen in a future episode of Carnage, you know, where I have to fully weld everything and then grind back the welds, make it all look pretty, you know, but I'm really stoked with how it's come out already. I think it looks awesome. I think we've done a pretty good job considering this is our first time mini tubbing a car. So, what do you reckon? Let us know in the comment section. Did we do good? Did we do bad? Some of you agree, some of you disagree. That's just the way YouTube comments roll, unfortunately. That's part and parcel of doing this stuff. But I am happy regardless. And once we move the springs inboard, we'll be able to put 315s or 325 radials under this thing. That's a lot of rubber for a car like this. It's more rubber than it will ever need. But it will look fat with so much rubber under the rear. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Put a Hemi V8 up the front, big rubber up the back. It's going to look awesome. So we'll see all that in future episodes of Carnage.